What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome back to the TheSlamDuncan YouTube channel. This is my video just kind of recapping the last three games for the Chicago Bulls. As all three are losses, a couple disappointing losses, a pretty good effort against the Phoenix Suns, but I will say it's probably one of the worst defensive games all year. But I mainly want to talk about the big acquisition for the Bulls at the trade deadline in Nikola Vucevic and see just how he's fitting in, how he's playing, and where do I see this team moving forward with them, as obviously Nikola Vucevic is an all-star, so how is he playing within this system? And so far, I have mostly positive things to say. Unfortunately, though, just due to the lack of defense recently, it hasn't looked so good for the Bulls since Vucevic has come here, just because of lack of defense, and also Zach's health is. I think Zach LaVine right now is 50% of himself. So once Zach gets back, I think this team is definitely gonna look better, but the defense needs to fix itself before we can really start talking about wins here. But speaking just solely on Vucevic, I'm going to go over some of the positive stuff. As you can see, a bunch of clips pulled up here, and then I'm going to kind of talk about the Bulls and their last three games and what they really needed to improve on. But make sure you hit that like button if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Let's get into this. I want to start just kind of go chronologically here. So I want to talk about this game, which is the first game for Vucevic as a Bull. This game was definitely kind of hard to watch just because, a lot of new moving pieces, and the Spurs made basically no moves at the trade deadline, and, they're a well-oiled machine with Greg Popovich head coach, and I came into this game thinking, all right, the Bulls are going to lose this game. I know a bunch of Bulls fans are like, okay, we got two All-Stars now, we made a bunch of trades here, we got to go, and it is true that this team definitely needs to go, wins are necessary, but as you can see right now, like the Bulls right now are sitting at the 10th seed. We're not that far out of the playoffs, so we have to understand that there is still time left for this team to get it together, but there is not that much time. But I think in these three games that we've seen so far, and I know Zach missed the Phoenix Suns game, we're seeing a much better involvement of Vucevic into the offense, and the chemistry is growing. And you definitely saw in the Phoenix Suns game that they're getting used to playing with Vucevic, but I don't want Bulls fans to panic, because it's like right now, technically we're in the playoffs right now because we'd be in the play-in tournament, but the Boston Celtics, who are not playing that well right now, they're only 3 games away from us. So we don't need to panic at all. I think a lot of Bulls fans are really panicking, but let's just not panic about the playoffs yet. I'm more worried about what's happening right now, and can this team cohesively play together. And I'm more worried about, next year when this team has a full year to play together with Vucevic and LaVine together. So that's where I'm more worried about. But this San Antonio Spurs game, you could definitely saw that the team was not used to playing with Vucevic at all. We're so used to having just like a normal average center, and we saw guys just not used to throwing the ball out to the top of the key for a three-point shot from our center, or just not used to seeing Vucevic or an all-star center at the top of the key willing to just go ahead and shoot the ball or drive right into the lane. So guys were, all over the place. I wish I had clips. I really wish I did, because I can definitely break down a lot of individual pieces that are this needs to change. But it definitely has gotten better as the games have gone on. But there was one play where Zach was trying to give the ball to Vucevic, but due to the fact that Satoransky was on the same side, on the strong side of the ball when Vucevic was trying to post up, it led to a turnover because Satoransky's guy, who was, I think, DeJounte Murray at the time, he was basically taking away the post-up option. And if Zach throws it to Satoransky, then all of a sudden the Spurs were playing topside. So it's like there's spacing issues that happen a lot in this game. But towards the end of the game, you definitely saw Vucevic definitely get more involved, but guys are definitely looking for him more. And defensively, it was a big struggle, but I think this game was just more of okay, we got a bunch of new guys here, Troy Brown Jr. played, Javonte Green played. There was a bunch of new guys in this game, so therefore the Bulls lost this game. But you definitely saw in this game there was a lot of issues just trying to figure things out. I have more issues pulled up for the Phoenix Suns game, but I want to kind of get to more of the positive stuff here. In this game right here against the Golden State Warriors, I thought the defense was okay. it was definitely better than this Phoenix Suns game, I would say. We saw just, Draymond Green kind of hit some crazy threes, and if Draymond Green hits those threes, then I just tip my cap and say, hey, we did our best, because Steph Curry obviously had himself a game, and that was kind of expected. He's coming back from injury. But once Steph said, hey, he's playing, I'm like, okay, the Bulls are probably losing this game as well. One, because Zach LaVine, again, was 50% of himself. But number two, again, we're just trying to integrate everything. And Vucevic, I think Vucevic has been pretty solid in both of these games. But definitely in this game, and against the Suns, he was the best. But in this game, the Bulls definitely had more play sets for him that were much better. We saw more of a two-man game between him and Zach that was absolutely lethal. But defensively, there were some issues. But this game was definitely better for Vucevic as they were trying to get Vucevic the ball much more. But I want to show some early plays that were very, very good and show how Vucevic helps this team so much. It helps the other guys. So I think a lot of Bulls fans saw this play early in the game where it was Vucevic posting up and he threw out to Patrick Williams. But just watch as this play develops here. One of the problems, as I talked about in the Spurs game, was just lack of spacing. Lack of spacing was just a humongous issue, and the guys were in the wrong position to allow Vucevic to go to work in the post. But they fixed that in just one practice here, and you can see how much they fixed it. So right here, Vucevic gets the ball, first possession of the game for the Bulls, back down. Now, immediately you just see the spacing's much better because initially we saw a lot of guys just kind of standing up here, right? And that was an issue. But the other thing here is I talked about this in one of my videos before the season started, was that anytime anyone's in the post, you can't have a guy standing right here while they're trying to back down, right? And in this case, it would be a guy like Thaddeus Young or just the other big man or other forward, right? They can't stand right here baseline. They have to be standing at the three-point line, but ideally you see Satoransky and Thaddeus Young moving here to occupy Curry and Draymond Green. But the main thing is that you can't have a guy right here, because what this does is it allows, let's say, Draymond Green here to take away the baseline spin move for Vucevic to get right to the rim. Because if Vucevic then goes baseline and he spins towards the baseline side here, he meets Draymond Green, and then all of a sudden he's in a tough position, and then he's stuck. We kind of saw that a little bit against the Spurs. It wasn't that obvious, but I think the main spacing issue was up here, was that you saw guys over on the strong side of the ball when you need more guys on the weak side of the ball here. And right here, you saw the Warriors, they're basically collapsing on the Vucevic, which is a good job by Vucevic, which is drawing all that attention. No double team here. But as you can see, basically all five Warriors are in the paint right now, which opens up so much for the Bulls. And now the Bulls need to hit their threes, which I think we saw against the Spurs was a big issue, is that the Bulls just did not hit their threes. And I thought the Bulls' offense was pretty good against the Spurs. They just didn't hit their open shots. But this one right here, I like that Patrick Williams didn't think shoot first. He said drive first. And right now, Wiggins is in a horrible spot defensively, right? So pass out by Vucevic to Williams. Wiggins comes out on skates, and this is a very makeable shot for Patrick Williams and a much more makeable shot than a three-point shot, right? Floater, mid-range, which has been Patrick Williams' game all year, bucket. Vucevic effect, you saw the entire Warriors defense was in the paint just from two dribbles in the post, and this is James Wiseman on him, and he's able to throw it out to Patrick Williams, so then gets an easy bucket out of it, right? Kind of a similar situation here. This is a very good job by Vucevic again on the other side, which this is the versatility of Vucevic. He can post up on either side of the floor here. But we see right here, back down. Now here comes the double team this time. One thing to note here, and I said it earlier, you can't have a guy standing here, baseline, right? Because it takes away the baseline spin move for Vucevic. And this is perfect spacing by the Chicago Bulls here. You see where Thaddeus Young is? This is humongous. This is a big part of what the Bulls need to do, and luckily, Thaddeus Young is a veteran, and he understands this so well. Thaddeus Young needs to stay in here basically at the elbow. What this does is that it doesn't allow Draymond Green to kind of camp the paint here, right? It makes Draymond Green actually have to play a little bit more out of the paint, so he's not like a shot-blocking threat, or whoever it is, playing guarding Thaddeus Young, is that they're not able to take away baseline or be a shot blocker, right? This helps the spacing drastically, and ideally, you see LaVine and Satoransky, they switch positions as this is being set up here, as then this will occupy Oubre and Steph Curry, that they can't just be staring right at Vucevic. But this time the Warriors decided to double team, which again, Vucevic is going to draw those doubles, and same idea out to Patrick Williams. You throw that pass out to Patrick Williams, And I love that Patrick Williams recently has been thinking, hey, I need to get to the lane if I can. I'll take the three if they give it to me, but I need to drive first and think drive first instead of think shoot first, right? So he gets it out here, and bad rotations by the Warriors here. If you're Curry, you'd kind of rather have Patrick Williams shoot the three, but he also just didn't get there in time. And then good drive by Patrick Williams again, floater game in the mid range, absolutely, Patrick Williams game bucket. But one more thing to note here, right here, this is good because you see that Patrick Williams then draws basically two defenders with him as well as he drives. Look who's open here. Zach's open. Zach's wide open. So if this is an absolute collapse by the Warriors onto Patrick Williams, he has Zach, but also another person is open right here named Vucevic, who can also shoot that 3-point shot or that 18-footer where he's standing right now. Perfect job by the Bulls offensively. This is good by the Bulls, and good job by Patrick Williams for just being aggressive. Now, that's the main thing right here, as we're seeing early on with Vucevic, is the post-up. But one of the things that I think that you're going to see moving forward is that, Vucevic is a great pick and popper. And one of the things that helped them get so much success in Orlando was that he, just pick and pop on one side of the floor with whoever as the ball handler. That's just a big part of the offense for Orlando, and he would, easily knock it down. And so this is one of the plays here that, this includes the Zach LaVine and Vucevic two-man game, which I think is absolutely going to be deadly once we see LaVine be at 100% here. But in just this one play, you're going to see how much space is created for everyone else, but also just how much space is created for Vucevic, right? You're going to see the Warriors just absolutely collapse into the paint here. And this is a pretty good play by Billy Donovan here. But I think this right here is where the Bulls are going to take their offense to another level, which, by the way, I think the offense for the Bulls has been pretty solid all year. We've seen that, hey, this team can score the ball. That's not the issue at all, right? But Vucevic gives them now a legitimate post-up option, but now also at the center position, he's a really good screener, and he can shoot from anywhere on the court, which just adds another level to the Bulls' offense. And right here, I like this play. You bring Vucevic up to the high post, which he can either, he can just turn around and score this. He can drive here. But this gives the Bulls a lot more spacing, especially with Thaddeus Young on the court, who's not that much of a three-point shooter. Now, in this position, if Vucevic is in the high post, then Thaddeus Young needs to be baseline, which is good here. As you can see, it's a pass up to Vucevic high post. Satoransky does a cut around him. And then this right here is that two-man game with LaVine and Vucevic. As this is developing, you need this player movement on the weak side. As you can see, Sato here, this is perfect. He needs to just move and just occupy Curry, because then Curry can't get in the middle of this play. And right here, hand off to Zach LaVine. Good screen by Vucevic to cut off Kelly Oubre. Zach LaVine basically draws both of them. And look, again, the Warriors here. First off, just look at where Draymond Green is standing. Green is right there. Curry was occupied by Satoransky, which is just great. The Warriors are basically collapsed into the paint. Zach LaVine has options here. You can throw out to Vucevic. You can throw it out to whoever out here. But I like this off-ball, weak-side player movement by the Bulls here, because this is so crucial to them to allow this play to develop, right? As you can see, Thaddeus Young started here. But as the play started, right, and Satoransky then cut to occupy Curry, right, you see Williams was up by the wing. He's moving towards baseline. Young is moving up to the top of the key. So ideally, this would then occupy Draymond Green, right? So Draymond Green is not just staring at the ball and thinking oh, I know where my guy is, right? But instead, it doesn't really get their attention, but it does. It's good to build these habits now, because this is definitely going to be more effective later on. And you see then LaVine passes out to Vucevic for a 16-footer. Bang. That's going to be all day. And I'm hoping once LaVine gets healthy, which I don't know when that's going to be, I'm hoping it's just going to be in a couple of days here. But once we see LaVine get healthy and the Bulls are going to be in a crunch time situation, I need to see that all the time, because we've seen with the Denver Nuggets, right? Once it's crunch time for the Denver Nuggets, it's just Murray and Jokic, pick and roll constantly, right? The Bulls now have that ability with LaVine and Vucevic. It's just LaVine, Vucevic, pick and roll. LaVine, Vucevic, pick and roll. Just do that in crunch time. You're going to be set, because it's going to open up so much. Another thing I want to show you here, which is against the Spurs, which was showing the LaVine, Vucevic two-man game. This is at the top of the key instead. And you're going to see here, ideally, and this is one of the problems that happened under Boylan last year, which is what I don't like to see, is that I want to see Aminu and White here. They need to just switch positions, because what this would do is that this would occupy both of their defenders here so that they can't just stand there and be in helping position. This would get their attention if Aminu and White just swap positions. So White will go to the corner, Aminu will just move up to the wing as this is being developed here. So 2-man game here, but as you can see, the big thing here is these guys right here, they're specifically Patty Mills, they're not willing to immediately go right to the paint right here. They're more scared of hey, Vucevic is a shooter, Derek White's trying to get back into the play here, so I need to stay right here and make sure that Vucevic doesn't get a wide open shot if LaVine just chucks it right back out to Vucevic for an 18-footer, right? So this is just, again, incredible 2-man game here, and LaVine at his 50% self somehow was able to finish this, as he's just not getting as much lift on his layups right now. But that 2-man game is just going to be deadly, and again, Vucevic effect is that you saw that the Spurs were not as willing to collapse into the paint right there. So good stuff there. I want to talk about this game really quickly. I honestly think this was probably one of the worst defensive performances by the Bulls all season. I was not very happy with this defense performance. I know it was a close game, and it was good to see that this Bulls team fought with no LaVine, no White, no Temple, but I honestly was just so upset with how many open shots the Phoenix Suns got in this game, and I'm going to show you one of the things, now that Vucevic is at center, that the Bulls need to start really working on here. But there were too many times where the Suns got the mismatch too easily, too many times the Booker was getting right into the lane. A lot of Bulls fans are blaming Patrick Williams for Devin Booker for getting 45 points, which is that's unfair criticism, because guarding Devin Booker is hard enough for anybody, right? But I think the main thing that we saw was Patrick Williams can only do so much, as any defender can do on Devin Booker. And unfortunately, with Vucevic, Vucevic is not that much of a defender. He's not a shot blocker, so Devin Booker is just willing to get into the lane. But there needs to be a team defense. Something has to happen, as a team, to stop that, so they don't just exploit Vucevic immediately after the pick and roll set. But I did not like this performance with the Bulls defensively. I appreciate their effort offensively. I appreciate their effort on the rebounds. They completely out-rebounded the Phoenix Suns. They also did not turn the ball over this game, but there were just so many times that I'm just staring at this Bulls defense, and I just see the Phoenix Suns to get a wide-open shot, and the next possession is another wide-open shot, and sure, it was a close game, but I feel like the Phoenix Suns could have easily scored 145 points in this game if they just didn't miss their open shots. And I'm not kidding, because this was just an awful performance defensively by the Bulls. I understand that, again, we're introducing more things, or more our guys into our lineups. Markkanen was playing out of position today for some odd reason, but I just honestly think that it just comes down to effort and awareness, and there was just multiple times I saw, even when someone was doing individual good defense, the other person off ball defensively was just got completely back cut. It ruins the defensive possession, right? So there's just stuff that needs to be worked on. I think this, though, was the best game offensively for Vucevic and the Bulls, as they definitely looked more comfortable trying to get Vucevic the ball. And I'm happy to see that, because I think Vucevic, he should have got more shots in the first half, but he got a good amount of shots in the third and fourth quarter, which is good to see. Now, I want to show you some problems here with Vucevic, being in and out of the lineup, which, this isn't his fault, really. It's just that Bulls need to be aware now that, hey, we have Vucevic now at center. So how are we going to be able to play with him, as he is not that good of a defender, right? Or just in general, you shouldn't have your big man be being switched onto a guard, or in transition have to be guarding the point guard, right? And this is one of the examples here. And this is just such an issue. Defensive transition, it's just been awful for the Bulls all year. Now, I know on this play, I believe Young got hit in the face or something, so it was a 4 on 5 already, but automatically, the problem here is that Vucevic is guarding Payne, and I just think something needs to happen here where Satoransky needs to get back first, or just hustle back really, as quickly as possible, and then maybe once this happens and you can see that the ball's about to go to Payne, maybe you double up Payne here to then allow Vucevic to then get back onto Ayton so he's not having a guard pain. But just this right here is an issue because I apologize for full screen there, but this right here is what's been killing the Bulls all year, and this just can't happen. This is just lack of effort, in my opinion, and I don't know what Billy Donovan's telling them like when something like this happens, but if this is what's going to happen, right, if you're going to be okay with Vucevic switching onto a guard, there has to be communication, there has to be weak side help, and there was nothing here. It's just Vucevic is on an island, and campaign, this is just too easy for him because Vucevic is not that laterally quickly. Like, it's just so easy for the opponents to be like, okay, we're going to run in transition, we're going to find Vucevic, and whoever he's guarding, we're just going to throw them the ball and just drive right past them. That's the problem right now. And I don't know what Donovan needs to do, but this just can't continue anymore. Now, I want to show you this play, though. Now, this is a prime example of, I think, Patrick Williams does a pretty damn good job guarding Devin Booker, but Devin Booker obviously is just going to hit tough shots, and that's what Devin Booker does, right? But I see so many issues, though, in just this one play, right? The amount of times, like, I just feel like Devin Booker could have just went right into the lane as he did late game to hit a dagger against us tonight. Like, I just think Devin Booker just like, okay, I'm just gonna drive right past, and I don't know what the Bulls need to do here. I'm a big fan of the drop coverage in the sense that, like, we don't have to rotate guys. I hate blitzing because I think you have to pre-rotate, and we saw last year while the Bulls defense, like, ranked wise, it was pretty okay. I still thought the Bulls defense last year was not that good, as we saw just that the guys don't understand how to rotate that well, and I honestly think Donovan needs to start thinking, hey, maybe we don't do a drop coverage, especially now with Vucevic at center, because as many Bulls fans don't want to admit it, Wendell Carter Jr. in the drop coverage is, like, his ability and his flexibility and mobility is what made the drop coverage pretty okay. Like, it wasn't good, it was pretty damn awful, but what at least made the Bulls average defensively with Wendell Carter Jr. and the drop coverage is that he's able to actually, go out, show, and then come back onto his man and get back in time. Vucevic does not have that ability at all. The drop coverage has looked a lot worse since Vucevic has been at center now, and that's not on him. It's on the Bulls, right? The Bulls guards need to do a better job of getting through that screen to not allow, that 2-on-1 situation against Vucevic to happen. But I think Billy Donovan needs to start thinking that maybe we don't do a drop coverage. Maybe we do an ice coverage. Maybe we do maybe we blitz specifically against Booker to not just allow him to do whatever he wants, but then on other guys, we have to do like an ice coverage. And what an ice coverage is that what happens here in an ice coverage would be Patrick Williams would then, first off, Vucevic needs to be yelling out to Patrick Williams, hey, screen whichever side. In this case, for Patrick Williams, it's on his right side initially, right? What Vucevic would need to call out is like screen right, which then what Patrick Williams needs to do is he needs to get on the top side of that screen to then force Devin Booker away from the screen, and Vucevic would be like right up here. This is basically trying to make the guard with the ball reject the screen, but then he is then forced into a Vucevic guy right there. So it's not a double team. It's not blitzing. It's just you're basically making the guy reject the screen and roll. So you would force Booker this way and have Vucevic be standing here, and then have Arcidiacono or Daniel Tice. They're in position right here to guard the roll by Ayton. And that's just much easier, in my opinion, to do. But in this case, though, we're seeing in the drop coverage is that we're seeing this right here. I think automatically, like, Patrick Williams, I think he needs to do a better job getting over the screen. But this is still a pretty decent job by him. But right here, it's like, I think this is too far back, in my opinion. But this is what the drop coverage has been all year. This is how it's been. And right here is where I'm scared. Because Devin Booker, at this very moment right now, can do anything he wants. He can step back. He can just pull up right here. He can drive. Vucevic right here is in a very tough spot. He is basically beat. It doesn't look like it, but he's beat, right? Vucevic does not have the mobility or lateral quickness to stay in front of Devin Booker and, with whatever he does. And it's already too late for Patrick Williams right here. Patrick Williams needs to get back onto Booker, but it's already too late. And this is what it leads to. And already Booker's in the shooting spot. This is a too late contest. Bang. that's just gonna happen all night. And in today's NBA game, we have many guys that can do that sort of shot right there. Like, it may look like a tough shot, but Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, Steph Curry, like, these are all guys that can just be like, all right, yeah, I'll shoot that pull-up 16-footer. Because they practice those shots. They're able to hit those shots on a daily basis, right? So, I honestly think that with Vucevic, you need to start thinking about a new defensive scheme, but I think it's too late in the season to start something like that right now. One of the things that I think Donovan can do, and he's done it a couple times this year, is just run a 2-3 zone. Main problem right now for the Bulls is that they're giving up too many easy paint looks. So even on this play, for example, the problem here is that Booker could have gotten right into the paint as if he wanted to. He decided not to in that play, but he could have gotten easily into the paint if he wanted to. That's where I'm thinking, if you're the Bulls, it's like, okay, we can't allow that to happen. We want guys to shoot perimeter shots because we force them to shoot perimeter shots, not because they decide, hey, I'm going to shoot the perimeter shot right now, right? So a 2-3 zone, what it would do is that it would keep Vucevic in the paint, first off, so he doesn't have to go out onto the perimeter. But the main thing is that it basically compacts the paint. So now you're basically taking away the paint option, hopefully, if you're the Bulls, and you're going to force the Phoenix Suns to have to throw the ball in the middle here, which Vucevic is pretty good at guarding any sort of post-up option. But you're trying to make the Phoenix Suns have to take a perimeter shot in the end, and you're going to basically collapse that paint and not give them the option or just immediate option just to drive right into the lane, right? So I think that needs to start happening, especially with Patrick Williams in his length, Zach LaVine in his length, right? And even with Thaddeus Young now in the starting lineup, I think this is a very viable option if you go to a 2-3 zone. Now, other thing for the Bulls is that with Daniel Theis now, who I've been loving so far, Daniel Theis, when he's in the game, he has the ability to switch, right? On a pick and roll, I actually wanted to see him switch onto the guard, as he did this with the Celtics as well. So with Billy Donovan here, you need to start switching up your defensive scheme in the middle of the game so that guys like Devin Booker just, they're not as comfortable knowing, hey, all right, this is just a drop coverage no matter what happens. They're not going to change the defense against me. So I can just I know what's coming, so I'm just going to do this, and I know how to counteract anything they throw at me, right? You need to switch the defensive coverages to guard All-Star specifically, because or else they're just going to be like, all right, I know what's coming. I'm going to punish you for that. So I think Daniel Theis brings a different sort of, look to the Bulls, and that it's not Vucevic, right? He has the mobility to switch onto a guard, onto the perimeter. And I think if you're Billy Donovan, with Daniel Theis in the game and playing the center position, and hopefully, and this is if Markkanen's not in the game, I think you switch everything. And I think this would just bring a different look to the Bulls. So we're not just stuck in this drop coverage constantly, and it will change the flow of the offense for the opponent team. So a lot of problems defensively, especially now with Vucevic at the center position, but he's here to stay, guys. So we as the perimeter guys need to step up, and hopefully the Bulls, figure it out at some point how to start playing defense, because it's been absolutely awful. And I get it. New players, they're new team, new coach, new defensive scheme. They're not as adjusted, but there needs to be a big overhaul of the defensive effort right now. Guys need to start actually being aware and give the effort on defense, and maybe even give half court pressure just to slow down the offense for the opposing team. So that's all I have for you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.